Oh my gosh, I love that sound. We're testing something new here today.
I just shit myself.
Welcome to the zoo era of Detroit City Sportscast. It is March 3rd, 2025, the year
Recipe
of our
Skype.
Lord. Yeah, Skype suffered an untimely demise. We'll save that for our next long form. It is the makes the USL Championship season preview for Detroit City FC men's side. Garrett Comat's here. Can't do this by myself. First things first, the gentleman that does all this producing, makes everything look cool, badass, all the production stuff. I send him 10 things a week sometimes. Adam, and then the man behind City Make Spence, Words About Shapes King, keeper of the pizza minds on there, and sometimes a damn fine guidance counselor, Sean Spence. Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
I'm all right. How you doing,
Good.
Adam?
Yeah, I was disappointed to hear that Skype is going the way of Joanne Fabrics.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm sure that the team's product they're going to roll out will be like a much superior product that won't be absolutely rife with, information stealing and
oh yeah.
like security holes. Like, because Microsoft always makes great decisions about these kind of products.
Yes, it's going to be,
I know that I've got to finish my Baldur's Gate 3 co-op playthrough before the Skype goes away, because that's how we talk to each other.
Oh man,
So I got like 2 months. Got to get it done.
Real quick note before we break into our first meaty topic tonight. Brief note of the weekend that was Kill the Keg at Detroit City FC at Detroit City Clubhouse and the Fieldhouse coincided with a leaky Iowa Demon Hawks defense and a 10-0 Detroit City MASLW win. We'll cover that in greater detail in our next episode when we talk about the last two MASLW matches. Sound good, gents, on that?
Yep.
And then, Adam, you were also at the annual owners meeting yesterday. Kit unveil, real quick. Is this your favorite set of kits?
this is my favorite set of kits. And if you go to Detroit.majorsports.com, I have ranked, well, I didn't rank them, but I give a rundown of the best city kits of all time and the absolute worst city kits of all time.
Oh,
And a
wow.
quick spoiler, these new set of kits, the 2025 kits across the board, are among the best kits that Detroit City has ever released, which I'm wearing one right now too. So I'm wearing the Rouge kit right now, is what they wanted to call it. And one of the biggest surprises last night was them debuting white shorts with the Rouge kit last night. Didn't know we were going to get white shorts with it, but white shorts, as you mentioned, Garrett, is an option this year for them, and I hope that's an option that they continue to take advantage of and use this year. So,
Home kit, brief rundown, maroon, with either maroon shorts or white shorts, white sleeves, sand accents. Away kit, all white, channeling Ajax's design with a center emerald stripe, and just the crest of the spirit of Detroit, perfect for those away days. Emerald numbers in the back. Two goalie kits. The first one based off the late '90s Pistons uniform design, emerald in place of teal. Collegiate gold, collegiate burgundy, and with black socks, as you see Carlos Saldana repping, getting a lot of social media buzz on that one. And the second goalie kit, a light blue with a light gray and white, the DCFC in 1990s Detroit Lions font, like you used to see in the Pontiac Silverdome end zones. Sean Spence, real quick, your take on them.
I am famously not a big kit guy. But I do like them. I was part of the kind of, it was interesting to watch as the pictures came out among the people. Like, I just gotten home from a really grinding day of work, and the pictures had started to come out from the owners meeting. And so I'm sitting down and I think there was a lot of confusion at first about the keeper kits. Like, people didn't quite twig to the fact that those were Pistons and Lions tributes, basically. Like, once you say that, it's like, oh, it kind of all clicks into place. Like, okay, but it's like Sarah was like, I don't understand this away keeper's kit. Like, like what is this? Like, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of giving, like, I was joking about Coventry City, and like there it was, like it kind of looked like Coventry City. um and but then they explained it's a Lions thing, and like, okay, all right, yeah, I just didn't get it. um I really love the main kit, the Rouge kit, whatever the fuck they're calling it. I that one I like. I think I have a feeling the away kit, or the change strip, whatever you want to call it, will kind of grow on us. The shoulders are cut differently. It's like they have like shoulder pad style shoulders, where it's like kind of,
Yep.
the shoulders are cut down, kind of onto the upper arm, and I'm interested to see how that looks different. I think it's going to look very like 70s Ajax. I'm like, I think it's going to look like Johan Cruyff could wear it, which, it's cool with me. Love me some Cruyff. So, everyone's going to look a little slump shouldered, which will be interesting.
Yep, definitely. I know the template name for that is on the club website. It's different than the one for the home kit. Shout out to obviously Kevin at Detroit City FC for filling me in on confirming color details, as supported me on this habit of love / borderline addiction of knowing what these color names are. Let's now get into the first meat of the topic, and that this Detroit City FC USL Championship men's season that we are now 5 days away from, Saturday, March 8th in Miami FC. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing kind of breakouts. So this is for segment one, we'll be talking about a couple of positions, and that is the first one we're going to start with, and I'm going to then hand it to Sean to give his analysis, is the goalkeeper position. For Detroit City FC for 2025, what to expect and change, and what's different from last year.
Yeah. The keeper. Wait a minute. Is my mic on?
Yeah, you mic son. I hear
Okay.
you.
Sorry. I had a light on my mic that I don't usually see. The keeper situation is pretty similar to last year, I think, in that Carlos, I believe, or where we ended last year, with Carlos as the number one, and the other Carlos. It's all Carlos all the time in the keeper position right now. Carlos Saldana was, worked his way into being the starter last year, and Carlos Herrera has come in, who played the last couple of years for Monterey Bay, and I don't know a lot about Carlos Herrera. I think we talked about him a couple months ago when we initially announced his signing. He had a really his numbers looked pretty terrible like the year before, and then last year his numbers looked pretty decent. He's never been like a lockdown starter, and he won't be here. But we might see a little more of the kind of platooning that we were seeing with Carlos and Nate last year. Because that seems to be a thing that Danny likes to do. And I think I have a feeling that, the idea is that everyone has to fight for their place every week. And why is the keeper not part of that? And the kind of tradition of just picking a keeper, and that guy stays in there until he, like shits himself or his arms fall off. That maybe that's not how we're going to do it. And, I think it's interesting. As long as it doesn't seem like they've lost any composure with the back line, which obviously wasn't a problem last year with either Carlos or Nate. Then, I think it does have some advantages to it. So I think it's interesting. The sort of background of all of these conversations about the players that we signed and the players we're bringing back is that the Eastern Conference, in which most of our competition will take place, has gotten dramatically more difficult as a competitive space over the offseason, and really over the last 2 years. The power and money has shifted dramatically toward the eastern half of the United States in the USL Championship. And so, have that in your mind as we're talking about all this. It's certainly on my mind. And that is I think that we have long kind of, or I have talked a lot about, Trevor James's background as a very high level scout, for, since, the early 90s. And I think this is a season where we're going to kind of see, there's a lot of more questions about whether the guys that we've brought in are going to be able to really, produce at this level. And, if they do, and the team comes together and is very good, then that will be an absolute feather in Trevor's cap. And if they don't, then that will, I think, kind of start to draw into question the model of having like a single guy who is making most of the decisions about personnel. That is increasingly a rare thing in football, and you're going to get a lot of people involved. Now I know Danny's involved. I know they've got a little more of a scouting department than they've had in the past. I think they're it's part-timers or people from other spaces, but we're still talking about like going into the first match, regardless of what we're about to say in the next hour and a half, with not a real clear idea where we stand in the USL Championship, unlike the last couple of years where I felt like we kind of knew we were, where we were. So, I mean, that has a lot of possibility for upside. This team can surprise us. But, there's the other possibility. So, I don't know. That's just kind of my background talk about all of this player assessment is that everything is relative, and we don't really know how everyone else is going to come together. There's been a lot of movement in this offseason, and several teams seem to have loaded up. Good teams have gotten seemingly better, and that we'll see how that goes. That doesn't always mean that they're better, but that's how it looks right now.
Yep. Adam, real quick, your take on goalkeeper's position before we go to defense.
It's a big question mark. I mean, this is the first year that we're not seeing Nate Steinwasser in how many years. It's where he wasn't regularly featured. Was it since the pandemic bubble that he wasn't a regularly featured keeper. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of question marks. If is Carlos going to be able to kind of front the that heavier workload that he's going to be undertaking here. So he looked really good last year. I'm confident that he will be able to do that. But like Sean was mentioning, there's like the more general roster, I think that the keeper spot is a perfect jumping off point to those big question marks that kind of encompass the entire roster itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to definitely be. I'm curious to see the breakdown of the Carloses, especially when you look at now USL fucking Jägermeister League Cup as well as the Open Cup, how the breakdowns are going to be between them. Is it just going to be mostly Saldana for League and you'll see Herrera in League Cup and Open Cup, or will we see these like 2-on, 1-off, 1-on-1s? It'll be interesting. We'll know more.
Yeah.
That will be.
Well, and I think that there is a little more because of the USL Cup being a thing. Like, there's a little more room to make somebody a cup keeper.
Yeah.
Like in previous seasons, like if your cup keeper is playing like 2 matches, right? Like how many matches are we going to play in the U.S. Open Cup? We play the local chumps, and then we get drawn against an MLS team usually, and maybe we win that. And so the cup keeper gets 3 matches if we kick a lot of ass. So adding the USL Cup where we're going to get 4 matches or whatever. All right, well now the cup keeper is getting a little time, and you're not having to like really figure out when to play him, at least in the first half of the league.
Right. So that'll be the beautiful thing about that. And obviously, the first League Cup match is going to be April 26th, which we'll know a little bit about this squad before we get to actually US Open Cup the week before that. So now that we've talked about goalkeeping, let's talk about what our defense makeup is going to be.
Okay, so we do have a lot of reason to assume that this group is going to be very good. They have always been very good. Of course, Stephen Carroll. They just discovered that a recount of he's now at 200 appearances. So a record-breaking 200. Yeah, exactly. So we're stopping the count at 200. That's good. We're good there. 200. That's where we start. 201 as of Saturday, right? You start with Stevie. You got Devin, who is at an all league level, I would say, from a defensive standpoint. And then their likely partner in the back three will be Shane Wheat, who we've described as the Matt Lewis replacement. He is similar to Matt in terms of the way he plays the game and his stature and physicality. And I think that looks like a really solid, intelligent, like difficult. It'll be tough not to crack. You know what I mean? They're not going to just cough goals up. On the wings, we're probably looking at Alex. I mean, he really played his way into dominating that left wing back position. And then when we went to the 4, he just started playing left back. And I think he's the lock over there. I think that Matt Sheldon probably will pick up, like we'll fill in for him and like give him some rest when needed, or unless Haruki Yamazaki he does what he did in League One and plays on the left side. I'm guessing that Yamazaki's going to actually play in midfield. So I've got him kind of classed with the midfielders. I do note that Michael Bryant is listed as a midfielder on the website, which is interesting. I was envisioning him more as the fourth center back of the guy who he could really play any of those positions across the back three and could play right wing back. I mean, he's going to do his Swiss Army knife thing again. I think unless they're going to play that 3-4-3 and he's going to be one of the 2 deep lying midfielders, and we're really going to have a kind of a back heavy setup. So anyway, I've gone on about that enough. Reese is the only a defender I haven't really touched on. It's difficult to know where to put Reese. Right, he could be in with the forwards. He could be with the defenders. Basically, we know that he's going to provide a lot of pace and motor on the flank, whether that is deployed as an attacking thing or as a wing back kind of defender. We'll see. He can do either one, and remains one of the kind of like most obvious grinders in the league. You know what I mean? When you turn on a USL Championship match and you see like the way Reese plays, he really is always like flying at somebody, it's great to see. The only question I really have is I think we're a little thinner at center back than we have been. In the past, we've usually had Michael and at least one other guy, I think. So, that's something that in the past we've picked up kind of late on loan. We tried Abdi Salim last year, and he just got hurt a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another deal before we have to, declare a roster and play out the season to get somebody else in at center back. This group is a proven standard. And that is the only, position group like that on this roster. Even the guys that you added are are not long shots or extrapolations at all. You're adding when you add Shane Wheat to that back three, it just makes sense. It's like, yeah, it's a like for like replacement. You could almost sub him off of Sacramento right on to our and play. We play very similar styles to what he played in Sacramento, and he was great there. We've got a baseline for him that there's no like he's going to be that good. And then Maury Donor is very much the same way. He's a dude who like is always available and puts in a quality ball and is he's an extremely professional right wing back who I think is going to like kind of hog the minutes there. So it's going to be harder for Matt and Ryan to get the minutes at that position. It'll be more like, I mean, that's been his way so far in his career anyway, is that he's basically an Iron Man. And my point is that if there's one group to feel very confident about, I'd say the defense is where that confidence is well placed. Especially if you don't count Michael with the midfielders, but count him with the defenders. I mean, he is a fantastic rotation defender. As an everyday starter, you start to see little holes in his game. But as a guy who can, give you a spot start or bail a guy out of who's having a nightmare and come in and ball out for 30 minutes. He's really good in that role, and he gives great size. He's got a lot going for him as that kind of fourth guy. So, I feel very good about the defense.
Adam, your take?
I agree. I think that our defense. I've mentioned it before that I think our defense this year is going to be the best that we have seen yet, especially within this kind of Trevor James, Danny Dichio era with Detroit City. Maybe ever. I mean, Sean, you mentioned the Matt Lewis replacement, I think, for Shane Wheaton. I think that's absolutely true. We never really did get a bona fide replacement for him. And I mean, I'm hoping that Michael Bryant features more as on defense than anywhere else, just because I think he's probably most effective in that spot. I don't really want to see him featured too much in the midfield as an attacker, but I feel more comfortable with him because I think he's most effective in that defensive role. So
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm hoping moving forward. But again, kind of the whole theme of this show tonight is, the big question mark with this team heading into 2025, and that might even come be the case with Michael Bryant as far as where he is placed in
right.
this 11.
I think top four defense in 24 in the league for us, and adding Shane Wheat and Maury Donor is on paper a very good move. But like I said, we have to play the games, and I do want to see how much Bryant and Wheat battle each other for that. So that's going to be segment one here. We're going to take a brief break, and then in segment two, we are going to talk about midfield and forward. So we'll be right back. Segment 2 tonight of Detroit City Sportscast, the season preview edition for the USL Championship. If you see things a little bit differently, we're back on Zoom. It's been resurrected for tonight, at least.
No, we're back on Skype. We're back on Skype.
That's what I'm saying. God, I fucking killed it. I had one opportunity for this. Son of a bitch. But yeah, so we are back on Skype tonight because we're learning about Zoom meetings. So, yeah, so we talked in segment one about the goalkeeper and the defense positions for this 2025 USL Championship, Detroit City FC men's side. Now, Sean Spence, Adam Hernandez, let's go into the midfielders.
Okay, so I'm going to start this off with a little audible to the know nothing my know nothing friends who joined me in basing our entire personality around doing this thing here. In saying, okay, we've already talked about Michael. We're going to exclude him from the midfield. I'm also going to say that we're going to include the people that we're going to traffic in some rumors here. We're going to tag them as rumors or things we think are happening that the club hasn't announced. Because why have a fucking podcast if you can't bullshit a little bit? So here we are. We're bullshitting.
I agree.
Well, yeah.
That's a.
So we're going to bullshit a little bit, but first we're going to talk about the people that we know are coming back in the midfield, which is Lai Jop and Dom Gasso. That's it. Thank you. It's been fun though. Good job, guys. Yeah, we got rid of the entire midfield essentially. Lai is the guy coming back, and he had sports hernia surgery, and has only recently come back to light training. So he will not be available at the beginning of the season, and for some time, because this is the kind of thing you gotta, we're gonna have to ease him back in. So this is where it gets chancy. This is where we've had a lot of turnover, and we'll see how it goes. The guys that have been announced are Marcello Pulisi, who is a guy he's a kind of a vibrant, hard tackling, no nonsense defensive midfielder / central midfielder. Seems to have good mobility and a lot of bite. He hasn't played a lot of football in the last couple of years. I think he was out of football last year. So what we're getting is a little bit of a question mark. We'll see. Hopefully he's fantastic. And I mean, while I am certain that Trev knows a lot of things I don't know, I'm hoping that he knows something specific about Marcello that the rest of us do not. Less sort of less of a kind of a leap of faith is bringing in Jay Chapman. Jay's kind of firmly into the kind of journeyman part of a pretty decent career as essentially a second tier player who was on the books of a first tier team for the first half of his career. He's kind of a known quantity, and as at 31, coming on 32, it has established himself as a guy who can create chances from a deeper position, and again, like Marcello, is pretty mobile. The third midfielder that has been announced is Haruki Yamazaki. I kind of glanced upon him earlier because he also played left back at the League One level last year. That was his first year as a pro. The things coming out of his kind of rookie season as a pro were that he seemed like a 10-year pro. He's incredibly sort of calm and mature on the ball, does not give the ball away. I think that if the left wingback position is to be kind of a marauding chance creation type of a player, then we could see him play in that role as sort of a guy who can invert, can slide into the channel, can do a lot of different things from that position. But we also might see him as a central midfielder, and as I think that's kind of where most of our questions lie. I've kind of projected him there. I think there's of the guys that we've brought in the midfield, it's hard to overlook the pretty outstanding upside on Haruki Yamazaki. This kid can play, and I would not be surprised at all to see him, win a place in the starting 11 and kind of establish himself as a starter in this league fairly quickly. So that's the guys that are announced. some questions there, but we're not. This isn't play money. I mean, we're competing with other teams in our league that are willing to spend a lot of cash right now. And so to return to that, like what I'm saying is that like Louisville City has reinvested some of the money they've made on selling players back into their roster in this offseason, but they've kind of been put in the shade by Charleston and Rhode Island, who, Charleston, Ben continues to kind of hoover up a really impressive football manager build of a championship team. And Rhode Island is just kind of like trying to big dog the league now. I mean, they poached Maxey off of us after kind of storming through the league in the second half of the season. I hope it goes to shit, but that's a reality that we have to kind of keep in our minds as we assess these players. All right, rumors. We talked. Ryan Williams is a guy that really kind of, seemed to, in Danny Dicchio's eyes, beat out James Murphy last year. By the end of the season, he was getting the meaningful minutes, and it's the rumor is we're hearing that he may be coming back. I think it'd be great. His ability on dead balls can change a match, and especially when you're looking at a team where you think where the attack might be great or it might be 2 years ago. A guy who can create goals directly off of dead ball situations is incredibly important. So yeah, that's a rumor we're hearing that maybe he's coming back. I would love to see that. The second one is somebody that has been around in the preseason a lot, Daniel Ayuk. I kind of choke on his name, on his last name for some reason. Kind of makes it like it's like but he's a guy who just finished his career at Detroit Mercy, right? And he looks like a pro defensive midfielder. He's a big, kind of a tall, thick dude who created quite a few chances. I think he may have led the team in assists as a senior or something like that. Like he can play, and the sounds like maybe he's a guy that we might be adding. And that now at that point we would look at the midfield lineup. If you add those two, and you're like, okay, that's a reasonably deep group. And that's assuming that we don't get anything from Dom Gasso. We signed him as a homegrown player, basically. He was a youth player, and he scored that amazing goal against Pittsburgh. He kind of, he went on loan last year, and we don't know really how he's come along. We'll see. But there's a possibility that he starts creating more competition for places, and then you've got a really healthy group of like what, 8 midfielders and 7, and that's that's fantastic. What do you guys think? Which one? Here's my curiosity. Which of the new guys do you think is going to really catch everyone's eye early on?
Adam, you go first.
Among the new guys we're talking strictly in the midfield.
Midfield, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm probably most intrigued by Haruki. I'm also intrigued by the possible addition of re-edition. That sounds terrible. The return of Ryan Williams, because like you were mentioning, Sean, his dead ball ability was in some sense game changing last year. And what is he's the best set piece taker for City since Sid Blomqvist, In all
Yeah.
seriousness,
Yeah.
in all
Men or
seriousness,
women is what Adam's referring to.
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah. In all seriousness, because I honestly believe that Sid Blomqvist was one of the best dead ball takers that City has ever had. I mean,
Yeah,
you
that-
go look at some of the bangers that she took a couple of years ago.
That
But
ain't
I don't
harbor
know,
freight
maybe
kickball.
I don't know, maybe Kenny or Kevin Venegas too. I thought he was kind of good at it too. But
Yeah.
anyways, I mean, and as far as the new guys in the midfield, it's probably Haruki, just because of how he kind of lit things on fire in such a short period of time when he was with the Hailstorm. So
yeah, he was
I was,
like he got out of college in like May and like joined their roster and was like starting by July. And basically
yeah,
from July on he was a starter and you know went from central midfield to starting out on the left and playing kind of that marauding, you know, interior like wingback kind of role.
yeah.
And you know, like they won the title, right? They won the title.
They won the League Cup.
Oh, they won the League Cup, right? I knew they won
So
something.
yeah, I mean, this is, I mean,
Before
this
dissolving.
is, I mean, is aside from the keeper spot, this is the biggest question mark with this team. Given the
Mhm.
trouble that they had last year, Maxi is gone. We know how all the offense and everything kind of funneled through him. So this is the big spot for City right now, in my opinion, because you and I'm not saying, yeah, I mean, you listen to past episodes and I had no problem with them getting rid of Maxi. But again, that is the gamble that you take by letting a guy like Maxi essentially walk, get that big contract because you didn't offer it to him. Right now, you'd have to think that, okay, we're going to let you walk. We're going to bring in all these other guys, and we're going to be just fine. So that's,
Yeah.
I mean,
You
that's,
know, in fairness, I have heard that the city's offer was very similar to Rhode Island's for Maxi. At the end of the day, like you know, once you tot everything up, I'm sure they weren't kind of like they may have been offering more cash and we had more residuals or something. But you know, Maxi just wanted a new challenge. You know, so that was part of the thing there. Like they didn't tell him like pound sand, fucko. You know, like I think that if he was like, you know, I want to finish my career, you know, here at this club, they would have been like, all right, well, let's talk dollars and cents. Let's go. The Yeah, I think that we will not see the team built around one playmaker the way we were last year. I think this is going to be very much more of a movement and move the ball, and you know you're not going to have a guy like Maxi out there whose job is to kind of look around the pitch and solve it. You know, there's going to be a lot more like playing your role. I'm guessing. You know,
and I think that's a good thing.
Unless like Jay Chapman is like way better than I think he is. You know, that's and that, you know, there's not a right way or wrong way to play football. Like that's a perfectly great way to do it. So you know, sometimes, you know, if you're really dependent on the playmaker, if they aren't clicking that day, then you're kind of dead in the water. And if you're not dependent, then you're not waiting for that one guy to really solve it for you. So hopefully that'll redound to our benefit and not our frustration.
Why am I getting a spam call when I'm trying to do a recording? This is some bullshit. Powering
through the defenses.
How dare you? This is dumbass stuff. Adam talked about Haruki Yamazaki, and I'm really intrigued by him. What I'm really wanting to see is what I think is part of the Nick Dasovic influence. Jay Chapman, and Marcello Polisi. And I want to see if I felt like when we had our struggles in the middle part of 2023, it was midfield ish. It was part of being able to control the game in the midfield. And I am wondering if Marcello Polisi is that aggression that maybe what maybe perhaps Danny and the coaching staff thought they were going to be getting out of James Murphy. And Marcello can be a little bit more biting in the tackle, be a little bit more aggression, and set the tone there. I say that way, especially. I do wonder about like the Elijah, how's he going to be coming from injury? When's he ready to go? I don't know if he got minutes in the friendly in Brighton because I know he made the subs bench. Adam, do you recall? Did Lai get on in that second half in the Toronto friendly a couple weeks back or no?
I can't remember. I don't want to say yes or no just because I don't think he did, but I very well could be wrong.
Yeah, the impression I got was that he's not quite, he's not up to speed, and like you just don't want to risk a guy like especially like you're up against some college team or something, dude wrong foots him and like we're way beyond past square one, like square negative 800.
Toronto was aggressive that night too. I mean, Devin got a forearm to the back off a set piece. So, yeah, it was
like, we heard you sold fuck MLS shirts.
I actually have video. I have video of Devin getting the forearm to the back, and Michael was John with the guy right after. To say this poor this poor kid probably just out of college or in college still,
right.
Whatever, is accidentally probably gave a forearm to Devin, and he's getting an earful from Michael.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were playing. I mean, they were playing pretty physical. They were playing.
Listen, motherfucker.
Physical, so.
But yeah, I think Ryan Williams had arguably potentially the best in play goal of the entire year when you count Open Cup against
Houston. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Which turned that deficit, that matchup around because we were 2-0 down at the point. And then the free kick banner in San Antonio almost got one in the playoff match at Tampa. That was, I believe, in the 117th minute that would have won that tie. So I think somebody that brings something on the field, and I've heard that it seems like from Gary he brings something off the field as well.
Right.
So
he seems like a dude who gets it, Yeah. So
if that's the case and he's back, then it'd be cool. Because I really, like I said, you're gonna need guys, especially over right now 3 competitions. And if Daniel Ayak is actually, if it is looking like in fact he's coming in, I'm really curious to see it. It's a Rochester Hills native kid. Also, in addition to Detroit Mercy, played with Oakland County, featured for Lagana Seaside in Madrid as well. So somebody that's got a little bit of experience already for his young age. And like you said, Sean, a physical, somebody that could be really strong in that position with given minutes. So if it is looking like, in fact, that he's coming here. So I'm intrigued to see that, if that's a thing. So, which, we will see on that. We've covered midfielders. And now the last part, which is I think the single biggest reason why the faithful of Detroit City's Facebook group is still a thing.
Signs up strikers.
Strikers. .org because but this time we'll also include, in addition to strikers, we'll include wingers, maybe left forwards, right forwards, potentially 10s in here.
We're gonna play a lot. I'm guessing that we're likely to change the shape of the front 3 or 4 based upon tactical things we're doing and how we're trying to press and what we think is going to work. Like that, the tendency in modern football is to not to have somebody who's like to play in an incredibly set way. And that I think will hold with these guys, because there's a bunch of guys that can play different roles here. Of course, the returners are Ben Morris, who led the team in goals last year along with Maxi, and really overcame some things coming over from England after that knee injury. He looks a little different player than he did when he started here, mostly because I think he's finally fully healthy and feels confident in his body, and you could really see it last year. He scored some goals that were like goal scorer goals. You know, like, oh, okay, well, oh my God, this is the guy we thought we were getting. Amazing. So you know, and Ben, he's incredibly flexible. He's obviously maybe the best trained player. You know, when you look at it, like wherever I know where he came from, but that academy clearly has incredible coaches because he is immaculately well coached. He knows how to play every different kind of role, like really well. And you know, he's not incredibly well suited for every different kind of role. Sometimes, you know, it's a big ask, but he'll give it a go. Ben has become one of my favorite players on the team just because of how hard he works. You know, there's not many guys who score double-digit goals and kind of look like they're like, gosh, you know, I don't know how I did that, you know. And that's kind of Ben comes across like, you know, he's just really not going to get full of himself. Connor has, you know, Connor is at this point is like one of the old pros. And the thing about Connor is like, it's sort of like the Nate story where every year they bring in somebody to replace Nate, and by the end of the year Nate was starting again. And this is that Connor keeps kind of getting knocked down the totem pole by injuries and by poor form, and you know, but he clearly is an incredible worker in practice, and like gets himself into the team over time, not by flukiness, not by ass kissing, but by like finding a way he can contribute in a real, like, substantial way. And that's amazing. Right now, I think he's been hurt in preseason. He has like overuse injuries. So I think he probably. I'm guessing that what happened was he's had soft tissue injuries a couple times in preseasons, and so he was really determined not to have that happen, and he trained way too hard, and now he has like a knee problem.
Yep.
So you know, it's rough, but he seems to always bounce back from these things. Jesse Cedeno comes back. That was a little bit of a surprise. We weren't 100% sure if they were sold on Jesse because it's not like he got a ton of time last year, or he didn't, you know, always, you know, dominate when he was on the pitch. But he's a young guy, and I think they see something in him. He can play all across the attacking band of midfield. You know, he's right-footed, but he can play as a winger, but he also plays withdrawn as a 10 or as more of a striker, the second striker. And
right, or is he left-footed? I thought he was left-footed.
Is he left-footed?
I think so, but he's good with both feet.
I'm trying to remember. Like, I think I'm trying to remember if he's. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's left-footed, and then like he can play on the left as like a winger. Can play on the right. He's you know, got enough off foot to play on either side. Right. Is my memory. I don't remember if he's right or left-footed. The thing he's not likely to get a ton of time at a withdrawn striker position because the two guys that have been announced that we've added, both probably if they were designing a team around themselves would put themselves as a second striker, as kind of the withdrawn, running onto it guy, and that's Darren Smith, who represents probably, you know, the Trevor scouting flex top pick of the group, because Darren Smith is a South African who has spent his entire career in South Africa, Morocco, and Finland, and he's looked really good in preseason. Looks incredibly fluid. He's not a great big guy, but he moves well. He can finish with both feet, and he likes to play as kind of a second striker. He's definitely a striker, but he likes to have a foil in front of him. So I think it might be possible that we'll see Ben start up top and Darren, you know, beneath him, or we got the other guy that we've added, who's Ates Ju. I guess he says it Diouf.
Yeah, right now we've heard Dia for pronunciations.
So yeah, he has been one of the very best players in League One the last couple of years. He's kind of a cultish a winger forward. For me, like I see him more playing, as an like an inside forward on either side than playing up top. But he is a tall kid, and I don't know whether he's a guy who has a back to goal game really, because all of the highlights are him, breaking the offside trap and bursting in on goal and rifling the ball in past the keeper. So we'll see. It may be that like we spend a lot of time watching Ben sort of try different roles out to sort of make the other guys. Let's see if that really makes the other guys click. And then the final name that I think is pretty much all but announced at this point. I mean, he's been around camp for a while. He's not been officially announced. That's Jordan Adebayo Smith. He is a Nigerian?
Well, he can represent. He's an American-born.
He's an American-born player who's of Nigerian extraction, and I think he also has a British. He can also play for England.
Yep.
A citizen of the world. And he's like 25, and so he's at that age where it's kind of it's put up or shut up time for strikers, right? Last year he made the roster for Minnesota United and then just didn't get a lot of time, like less than 300 minutes. He did play for Minnesota 2 down in MLS Next, and I'm guessing that's where we picked him up, where we watched him play and thought, okay, there's something there. We'll see. He seems like a guy who's got some juice. And the question is whether for almost everyone who's at that, he's 25 and been a professional for 6 or 7 years, you're really at that point where the question is, can you turn the little snippets that the scouts saw in you into a productive player on a decent team? And so far the answer is like kinda. Last year he played in the championship was with Red Bulls, a terrible Red Bulls 2 side, and he got 7 and 3 in a lot of minutes. So we'll see. We need depth too, so it's not like we have to think that everybody's got to come in and light the world on fire for us to be successful.
One more name that we've talked about in our marathon episode in terms of a USL Championship experience, Sebastian Guanzati.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, I forgot him on the list. Have we announced him?
There were
Not
reasons. It's wrapped up because he's got a number and everything like that, right, but it has not been. But there's reasons why it hasn't been officially announced by the club.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, and Guanzati. It's funny because I was going over this list. I'm like, I feel like we had an experienced guy. Who's the experienced guy? Like I kind of was trying to convince myself I must have been thinking of Ben, but of course, like, why would I be thinking Ben? Like he's like 25 and this is his third year in the USL Championship. That's probably not the guy I was thinking. So Guanzati, he's at that point in his career where he's he's kind of an iceberg of value. What you see on the pitch is part of it, but that's not probably most of it. He's a good teammate, and he is and still a productive player who can play with his back to goal. So I know he kind of had played a little bit more as a withdrawn player instead of being a striker in Indy, but I think that we will probably see him trying to like he's here to try to play target man and dish off to the kind of horde of quicker strikers around him. Because of that, like he's a guy you don't hope you see starting, every game. But if he does, and it really works, if we're going to be like the career renaissance for Sebastian Guinzati, then I'm here for it. But in terms of like planning your roster, what you're thinking from him is that he's going to get like 25 appearances and 12 starts. Those will be 12 starts, and he's going to be he's not going to cause problems. He's going to be keep the team on track and be a leader and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, very much a proven pro, and a USL Championship lifer. He's been around this league for a while.
Yep. Adam, what's some of your takeaways?
Guinzati's interesting from the standpoint that maybe he might be more beneficial to this team off the pitch rather than on, especially given the makeup of this team moving forward. A lot of new players. He can be kind of that guy that can kind of help bring things together with this group, help him gel a little bit more, because that's something, it seems like that's something that we kind of missed 2 years ago in 2023 when the team wasn't gelling and they didn't seem to have a whole lot of chemistry. They didn't really seem to gel on the pitch. So maybe he's a guy that can do that, given his experience, as you said, Sean, as a USL lifer. Darren Smith, I'm really intrigued by as well, just because, he is one of those Trevor guys that just kind of pops in out of nowhere. One thing about Darren Smith that I think it's a good thing, considering, like a guy like Ali Coote, who we brought in last year, looked good while he was here, but essentially got homesick and had to go back.
Oh yeah.
And even Ryan Williams in a sense too. It seems like his family is here with them.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
In the United States. So I think that's a good thing. And as far as, kind of the psyche and everything with some of these players, especially a guy like him who has played his entire career overseas and then coming over here and maybe perhaps thinking, and I don't want to say this is what he's thinking, but I'm sure there's players that play overseas and then come over here to the United States and play in USL Championship thinking it's going to be some type of cakewalk when it's not. I mean, This is a good competitive league, but I think that's really key, though, that his family's joining them. So I like that. Diouf, I thought I heard somewhere that he's out of contract with Lexington after this season. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying is we acquired him and it's technically a loan, but it's a loan on the last year deal, right?
Yeah.
Now that means that he could be negotiating with Lexington for a new deal while playing with us. But once he's 6 months out, then it's open season. It's
June 1st or July 1st. I forget which one
usually,
of the two.
I think it's July 1st usually is the kind of tick over.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's another intriguing one as well. Given it seems like he's got an incredible amount of potential coming into this season. And then his connection to Lai too.
Yeah.
That is
which is
wild.
Yeah, which is cool to see as well. And it seems like he's generally happy to be here too, especially with Lai being here. And I think stuff like that is it's not something to gloss over. It's not something to dismiss or anything like that. I think that little things like that are important. And then Jordan, I really don't know what to think to make of him. I don't know exactly what he's going to bring. I'm hopeful by what as far as what he can bring. An MLS guy who has played with an MLS team. More so featured with their 2 team. So obviously there's something there. Um, I think the best thing about him is the way that supporters kind of go about figuring these things out and who is coming to this team. I swear,
Seducing.
yeah, it's total nerd shit that that supporters engage themselves in to find these guys, and I can only imagine what the front office is thinking, like when they're just sitting there and they're like, "How the fuck did they find out
Yeah. What's that?
that we signed this guy?" I mean, it's the most. I mean, it's really the most random. It's really kind of the most random player in the world.
Right.
I mean, it's not like he has any connection to City or anything like that. It's just, oh, well, one day some supporters found him, and yeah, how the fuck did they do that?
Yeah. Seems like he's
Magic.
coming.
A sicko's
Yeah,
tale.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's the magic of illusion. Yeah, I mean,
Darren's.
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, just where I think I've said this before. I think if I didn't say it on here, I said it on the last 451 we done. I think Jessiel Cedeno this year is going to be like a new signing based off of what we've seen in preseason. I'm very curious to see, is he central, like in the attack, like the top of an attacking diamond, or a top attack of a topping three if you got two holding and one playing behind the central forwards and wingers. Like, so confirm. I did take a look at his transfer market thing, left foot, but he's so good on his right foot as well. So it's somebody that can be versatile, and I'm curious to see, like, now that he's been here for a bit, and it seems like he was somebody that, and I think from what I even seen in Adam on the supporter side, somebody that was, well, not playing a whole lot at the end of last season, someone that was being involved in club events and supporter events. So someone who I think gets it already. Now Darren Smith, advantage for him, playing on turf already, especially
Yeah.
in Finland and the
Yeah.
weather. Being able to position
Absolutely.
yourself as a striker, I think that's going to be an advantage for him as well. And also learning, I mean, when you got Ben Morris now here, who's here for his third season, who can already give him that, if you can get that connection between the two of them, that's cool. Atis Dio, I am excited to see, like Sean, is he going to play inside left? Is he 10? Is he wide? But the one thing that he brings is his motor and that speed and the ability to just break out. And I trying to think, when's the last time we talked about, I think one of the last times, a guy that can just change a game with his speed. I'm excited to seeing everything
Yep.
on for that and what that could mean. I'm intrigued about Jordan Adebayo Smith. I think this is a prove it opportunity. What can what can you do in that moment that you're being given? Like I said, age 25. This is, we had Victor Pizzera last year. Was he an age 25er last year?
Yeah.
Relatively
Yeah.
close.
Yep.
So this is kind of a similar scenario, in my opinion. I could be wrong on that. I've been told I've been wrong before. And
I would
You're
say
wrong last night.
Jordan
I was
has
I was
Jordan
wrong
has more
last night.
proven, like, he scored goals in more competitive situations than
Yeah.
Victor ever had.
Yeah.
Like, to be fair to Jordan.
Yeah.
But yeah, a similar thing where it's like kind of a Fisher Cup bait time of your career. Like,
And then Sebastian Guenzati. I think he feels. I'd be concerned if he's like lugging the amount, like, if he's an in and out, day in, day out. But I think it's somebody that kind of fills that hole left with Elvis Samo, Yazid Matthews departing. Except with a little bit with as much with Elvis, or even more when you also count Guenzati with the NASL experience too. He's seen stuff. So
yes, that's a good way to put it. The thing about this is, this is a season that for me has a very wide amplitude in the possible outcomes. The top end, if some of these fairly long shot bets really come through, the top possibilities are really exciting. However, it's entirely possible to imagine a 2023 scenario where, like, there's maybe a couple personality clashes within the team, and it never quite coheres, and there's a bunch of talented players that can't quite figure out how they're going to be a team really at any point, and we just sort of shamble through the season going, well, like it takes us 3 or 4 months to figure out, like, oh, this is not happening. you know and we go through a season like that.
Yeah.
It's there. I think that we're given a lot of grounding by the defensive solidity we've always shown. And if for some reason that were to break, then you're looking at a potentially disastrous kind of season. If we get out there and it's like Stevie's lost it and it's not happening, some kind of I'm imagining the kind of things I have nightmares about, right? That then then the bottom end of that possibility wave gets much lower. So I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think that the defense will continue to be very good, and that the range of possibilities are from slightly below mediocre to exceptional. And let's hope we shoot for the top end of that.
I need to amend myself from segment one because I said we had a top 4 defense in 2024. We had a top 2 defense.
Top 2, yeah.
Yeah, us and Pittsburgh Riverhounds, the only 2 teams to allow less than a goal a game in the regular season, that is. So we've talked about midfields and forwards. We're going to take a free break before we go into the final segment. You've heard us already talk about just how East getting more and more difficult. We're going to talk about that a little bit deeper, as well as where we think our guesses on USL Championship, League Cup, Open Cup, and our take on Saturday's match. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to City Make Spence USL Championship preview edition. Garret Comat's here with Sean Spence and Adam Hernandez. Segment 3, final one for tonight. We've talked about breaking down the positions: goalkeeper, defense, midfield, forward. We've talked about how cool these kits are. We talked about a lot of things. Now we got to get into kind of some prediction times, some brief notes on some schedule stuff for this year. Sean's has already pointed out, and we discussed just how harder this Eastern Conference has. Here's how the Eastern Conference already was in 2024. Detroit City was finished 3rd in the regular season with 56 points in the regular season, 8 points behind a Charleston Battery, 20 points behind Louisville City. From 4th place to 11th place, and remember, only 8 teams get into the playoffs. From 4th place to 11th place was a 9-point total. Indy 11 at 51, Rowdies at 50, Rhode Island 51, Rowdies at 50, North Carolina 48, Pittsburgh 48, Birmingham Legion, the first team out with 45, Hartford Athletic 44, Loudoun United 42, and then Miami with 89 goals conceded and 11 points. So that was already kind of a close quarter knife fight between 7 or 8 teams at the end of last year. And everybody leveled up. We've talked about Louisville and some stuff. Birmingham Legion, who already has some attack, decided to get Rolando Damas from the Colorado Switchbacks on loan. Who was my introduction to USL Championship in the 2021 final against Tampa Bay Rowdies when he played for Orange County. Just his pace and can burn goals. Sean, why don't you fill us in on some just why this East, which was already difficult, became even more difficult?
I think it starts with Louisville City have been, big dog in the East for a while. They're, I think, the wealthiest club in USL Championship. or at least have the wealthiest owners. And they've put money into making the club a success. Lynn Family Stadium is lovely, and this is an expensive roster that added a bunch of people. I'm talking about like a dude like Manny Perez, who has been in MLS level right back after he got loaned to Celtic for a while. This dude can play, and he was over. I think he was playing in like Denmark, and signed. Was out of contract and signed with Louisville. When you sign a dude who's playing first division football in Europe, now he probably wants to come back to North America, but also that means you got money, right? He's not trying to come back here impoverished. And it just goes on. Last year they got Philip Goodrum, and so this is a team that has a lot of talent. Taylor Davila is one of the very best sort of all-rounder midfielders in the league, and he's 24. And they've got quality up and down the roster, and they won the division by 12 points last year. Now they choked in the playoffs, but that happens, right? And then the team that was in second last year, Charleston, sold Nick Mercanich for a ton of money and invested that money into Cal Jennings, who is a top 5 USL Championship forward to me in terms of all-rounder. Brings it defensively, incredible movement, intelligent, a guy who can do the Maxi thing of I'm going to step back and solve this as a puzzle, and then has really surprising physicality. Looks like he's going to be he's the kind of guy that can be overmatched physically and is not. Can really get off the ground. They signed a dude named Johnny Klein. He's a pretty decent left winger. They signed Douglas Martinez, who played for Indy last year as a withdrawn forward. Joliak Pununo, I think, is the center back that they brought in. He's kind of plays right back or right center back, but a big, very mobile defender that Ben improves his defenders year on year, like clockwork. So you look at a dude like Joey Akpunono, God, I can't say his name, and that he's going to be pretty goddamn good once he gets coached up a little bit. So, and that's a team that really had their way with the league at times last year in second place, and then you got Rhode Island, who took Maxi and stormed to the final. As a little bit of a dark horse, but really was a new team that took a while to find its feet, and in the second half of the season was the best team in the league. So those 3 teams added more dudes, and were already favored to finish as the top 3 again this year. It's daunting. You look at a team like Tulsa has added some good players.
Thankfully, they're in the West.
Oh, that's right, they are. Is Birmingham in the East?
Birmingham's in the East.
Birmingham's yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. I'm geographically challenged in this moment.
Birmingham should be in the West instead
right.
of Lexington, but what do we know about geographic stuff,
yeah,
USL? Sorry.
It's fine. Yeah. Birmingham has brought in a few players, and
even Turnbull I'm looking at.
Yep. Yeah. And so
Danny Trejo, forgot about Danny fucking Trejo.
Danny fucking Trejo, that's what I'm talking about. So people have teams all over the East have like splashed out cash to bring in kind of fancy players, and we have notably not done so. Right? I don't think you would call any of the players that we brought in like a big signing where everybody's like, whoa. I mean, maybe Atas Diouf. That's as close as we get. To a guy who's like, wow, okay. I mean, and he doesn't seem to be. He's kind of in the rotation for attacking minutes, but he's not starting a lot. So I think that he might be a guy who's got a couple holes in his game that the coaching staff want to address before he starts. At least in their assessment. I don't know.
What do you make of our two closest geographic rivals in the offseason that they had in terms of Indy 11 and Pittsburgh Riverhounds? I know Indy 11 took James Murphy and Elvis Amo off our hands, and Pittsburgh added Augustine Williams.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh is always, they were the number one defense last year. They're a lot of times they're like us, but more so in terms of being defensive and not always looking incredible going forward.
Lily ball.
Yeah. And you'd bet on them being at the very least very difficult to defeat. So Pittsburgh, it's kind of a bogey team, I think, for us at this point. Now I know we beat them in the playoffs, but it seems like we don't a lot of times put together fantastic performances against Pittsburgh. And Indy is a slightly different deal. Like, we're kind of really up and down against them. Sometimes we dominate them. Sometimes we play pretty well and they still win 3-0.
Sometimes we get dominated by them.
Sometimes they come out and just put it to us. I think Indy is like what I see from them tactically and sort of the way they're approaching the signings. Kind of picking up James and Elvis. Like those are good pickups to me. I was, if Elvis is healthy, I think he's very good, and I think James is very good. But I don't get what they're like. Okay, James is going to play alongside your primary playmaker. Like, all right, so how many defensive midfielders are you going to play? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't quite know where they're going here.
They have 8 midfielders on their squad I'm looking at right now.
Maybe it's all going to fit together masterfully, and I'm just a rube because I am obviously just a pretender who only is doing this because I built my whole personality around it. But the likely thing to me is that they're going to continue to be a mid-table team, and that they're going to kind of cruise along at that until like they have a season where injuries really wreck them, and then the coach will get fired and they'll try something else. But there doesn't seem to be like an ethos happening to like that I can see at Indy. It's too bad.
And Indy, I just look at the amount of bodies that Indy has on their squad, and I'm just like, how is the, how are you going to be able to be cohesive amongst all of these competitions?
It's so the thing about USL Championship to me is that so many teams kind of chop and change every year, like I think City has been pretty unusual in like coming in with a core that has largely survived, three seasons, and going into 4 now. And what I'm saying, like, so it's very difficult early in the season to tell like how the kind of middle pack of teams is going to do. You can look at Louisville and the amount they're spending and the kind of the profile the guys are bringing in and go, well, they're going to be fucking good again. Great. And Charleston brings in like names and dudes that are obviously like huge bags of raw talent. They're like, "Go Ben, make him better," and you know they're spending some money, and then Rhode Island's spending the money, and then Danny Trejo comes back and he goes to fucking Birmingham, like
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
rough.
I will say this though. I'm looking at, so I said Indy's got 8 midfielders on their FOTMOP squad. Birmingham Legion looks like they only have 4 midfielders, but I am counting 10 forwards because Tyler Pasher, Prosper Kasim, Mohamed Boya Traore, Rolando Damas, Darwin Matthews, Tabor Ataka Preston, Daniel Trejo, Diba Nguehu, Sebastian Tregarth, and Luca Dorado.
I mean,
That's
maybe
a lot of
they're
forwards.
gonna play Prosper Kasim at 10 or something. Like, yeah, so he's sort of a midfielder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
Yeah, I mean,
granted, FOTMOB might still be catching up, but still.
yeah. I mean, I got I like our mix, and I like the size of our roster. Like, we are no longer a budget bin roster in any way, shape, or form. Like, this is they're spending a lot of money on payroll for this group, and I mean, what are we talking about? 25 guys? I'm trying to think. Looks like maybe 25 dudes. I mean,
we're at 24. I think we're at 24.
Without a Bio Smith.
I thought,
Oh,
yeah, I think that's what they mentioned last night.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, it's when you think about 2022 and starting the season with like 16 guys, this is a whole different deal.
2022 is a long time ago.
It is. Yeah, yes, it is.
So tell you what, do we want to talk about the one more team preview, which can also connect with our preview for Saturday, or do we want to give our predictions for where we'll wind up in the table, then talk about then preview Saturday? How do we want to do the order?
I'll wild ass guess both of them. Let's do it.
All right. What do we? Well, actually, let's ask. Miami historically bad last year. Like, I mean, about as Adam can attest to this, about as shitty as the situation that happened in my place on Saturday. For those that didn't understand, we had a drain issue in our complex. So are they going to be as shitty this year, or are they in the right path? We don't know. We'll find out Saturday physically, but what is it looking like as far as their offseason moves? Because I know they have made changes. We are preview time.
I mean, it seems the tenor of the offseason moves, it seems like they're doing more of a traditional, trying to build more of a traditional USL Championship roster in terms of like age profile. It's not like a bunch of like children who are going to get like destroyed emotionally over the course of the season. Whether they're going to be a lot better is difficult to say. I mean, probably, even like dead cat bounce, like they got to be a little better than that, right?
There's only one way up for them, or there's only one direction they can go, and that's
right. I think they're a team that will be. I expect us to beat them, but the first match, the opening match, is always weird. Or there's a whole new group that's trying to get their own rituals, and each side is having that same problem, right? This is the first league match. You got to get your rituals right. Everybody's kind of like hoping this is going to work. And, football is so various that you can go out there and feel like you're doing okay, and then have something fluky happen, and like suddenly, it feels pretty terrible. So I do expect us to win. I would say 2-0 Saturday night. And then we'll talk about the season predictions in a moment. But yeah, I think that Miami is a team that that we should expect to beat until further notice, right?
Right. Adam, what about you, my friend?
I agree. I mean, I think that sums it up perfectly as far as Miami should be a team that we beat until further notice. I don't know what to expect. I mean, 2-0 sounds good to me. 2-0 sounds good to me. I mean, I can remember last season when was it right out of the gate, Miami beat the eventual USL Championship or
Yes.
USL champions.
Taro Springs.
Yeah. So maybe like if we lose this, maybe we just kind of consider that like the magic scratch of Miami FC. Like now we're destined. Like
if we lose to us on this weekend, then yeah, we're going to win the championship. So I don't know if Danny is using that in his game planning and schematics and everything like that, but I fully expect us to go out there and win. I don't know. It just seems like I don't know how much ownership and everything like that can dedicate to this team based on, because it just seems like Florida in general seems like pro sports hell.
Right.
They're also working on moving the homestead. I know that, but I don't know when it's going to be ready.
You know what? That really doesn't matter to me.
Right. Like, I mean, to me, like Florida people just don't turn out for sports, really, right?
No, and if we're talking about
like this is like unless you're like money laundering or using a tax write-off, it makes no business sense to do pro sports in Florida. Like it's just dumb.
Because if Miami or if Florida is pro sports hell, then like Miami is the inner circle of that pro sports hell, especially with soccer, football. I mean, because you already have Inter Miami, just right across town for them, and you've got one of the most, the biggest names in association football in the world.
Well, I don't think it's just Inter Miami. I think Inter Miami without Messi wouldn't be drawing any eyeballs.
No, they wouldn't.
They would. The fact is that like it's South Beach is what Miami is to like South America. It's like the place for rich footballers to go party in the off season. It's like one of the really clusters of huge numbers of top level professional footballers vacation in Miami.
Yes.
See the photo of former City players Richard Ballard and Dario Suarez partying with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. That actually was a real life photo.
Exactly. Like if you're around Miami and you're a footballer, like you're going to run into shitloads of famous footballers, but nobody's going to come see you play. No. What? Yeah.
Unless there's Copa America, which is happening the same night 40 minutes away, which was Detroit City at Miami, June of 2024.
Right. I mean, like I said, I just don't. I do not see how from a business sense, running a professional sporting enterprise in the state of Florida makes any sense. And really, even if you're talking about like some sort of tax grift or some kind of money laundering deal, because really, like all of these things are going to sunset in the next 20, 25 years. Like there's like Florida is not long to be habitable, So like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. It just feels like you probably, I don't know how much they're going to invest because, I think what they're trying to do is invest enough to not be embarrassing this year. And give themselves a little more legitimacy in the public eyes while they try to get some kind of like get the governor to fund them a stadium or something,
Yeah. Both you said 2-0. Who are your goal scorers?
Oh,
There's my curveball.
Steve Carroll
Oh
Ooh.
shit.
and Ates Diouf. I think that
Adam.
yeah,
Oh, sorry,
I'm,
Sean.
I'm picturing like a game where we are clearly on top, but only get the one goal off a set piece, and then Ates seals it in the last 5 minutes on a breakaway.
I'm gonna go with Ben Morris and Maury Donor.
Maury Donor, nice.
Miami FC won 1/3 of their season win total on opening day last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so gonna get murdered on this week.
The team that won USL Championship that lost that opening day in Colorado Springs went 0 for 5, which tells you how fucked this league can be. That's not going to happen to us, and Miami's not going to win on opening day. Miami 0, Detroit City FC 2. I feel comfortable. I don't feel any
A
more
trio
than that.
of two.
A trio of deuces. And I'll go Devin Amumensa, set piece. And Darren Smith opens things up. As much as I want Ben Morris to open things as score for my own personal bet with me, Hermano of Channel 451, Jaime Ventura, and now knowing I think that Ben Morris is the penalty taker based off of friendlies, I think Darren Smith opens his account on match day 1. So 7 p.m. That is going to be 7 p.m. this Saturday, March 8th. We are here, folks. ESPN Plus, TV 50. If you are in Southeast Michigan, CBSDetroit.com. If you are a state of Michigan resident, where you can check out, Detroit City FC at the Miami FC. I should just say the is like lowercase. You know what? We're back to October. Disrespect the Miami. There we go.
Okay.
So we talked about we predicted Saturday. So now we have a 30-game USL Championship regular season as opposed to 34 because the 4 other games are group stage games of the Jägermeister League Cup. Did I say League Bomb? Yeah, so instead of Jaeger Bomb, I said Jägermeister League Bomb. So Jägermeister League Cup, which and the U.S. Open Cup for Detroit City FC. So the U.S. Open Cup round 3 for Detroit City FC is either Tuesday, April 16th, Tuesday, April 15th, or Wednesday, April 16th. We are hosting the 3rd round. That is our entry period for the U.S. Open Cup this year. Jägermeister League Cup, the group stage games, open up hosting Pittsburgh Riverhounds on Saturday, April the 26th. So, prediction time, gentlemen. Where will Detroit City finish up in the regular season of the USL Championship? And then you can say playoff if you want to now, or we can save playoffs till after this initial round. Where will they wind up in the Jägermeister League Cup? Where will they wind up in the U.S. Open Cup? Sean Spence, you go first.
I think Detroit City will finish 5th in the East. And I think they will get to the semifinal of the Jägermeister Cup. And yeah, that's what I think.
Open Cup. What about that?
I don't really know. I mean, I think we dispatch local competition and get into the championship MLS rounds of it. A lot of it depends on our form at the time. I think we'll win a couple matches. But we've never put together a string of bright performances against top clubs. We've done well in one-offs, but then the next one we've fallen off. So until I see us do that in the U.S. Open Cup, I'm not going to predict us, storming through the semifinals or whatever, because we haven't done it. So yeah, I think we win 2 matches and then we're out.
All right, so you're going to go. So that is the round of 16 where you'll see Detroit City FC be eliminated, which kind of matches what they did last year, losing at Indy 11.
Like we'll beat the local guy. We'll get a good performance in our next match, if whether against an MLS side or a championship side, and then we'll beat her out.
Adam, USL Championship regular season, Jägermeister League Cup, US Open Cup.
I'm gonna echo what Sean said for Open Cup and Jägermeister, and I'm gonna say we finish fourth.
Yeah. So you're saying Sean's got, you both have the 4-5, except City would be on. Sean has City 5th. Adam has City 4th, so that would mean if City are 4th, they would host. 5th goes on the road. I agree with y'all around the 16 for Open Cup. It's going to be a little bit different when we get into round 3 because you don't just have because first round's 8 USL Championship teams, 10 MLS Next Pros, 14 League 1, 9 League 2, National 7, all these teams. And then you have the winners of the first round face each other in round 2. So you have 16 second round winners and 16 USL Championship teams. So we know Detroit City's hosting in round 3, and then the MLS teams enter in the round 4. But I think also too, these are MLS teams. The way I believe the MLS teams that are in US Open Cup this year is because they didn't qualify for either their Leagues Cup or CONCACAF Champions Cup. So in that case, that might be something that is another opportunity to get something on here. But I'll say it's round of 16 for this Open Cup team.
We're gonna wind up. We're gonna wind up playing the Crew or the Fire.
Complete the circle.
Return of Ryan Needs if it's the Fire.
Complete the circle and give me FC Cincinnati for 20 years at least.
Hold on. Who does Sean cheer for if we play the Fire?
Oh, are you kidding? Oh. I love the Fire a lot. Oh, my God. I mean,
shots fired.
Who does Jaime cheer for if we play Real Madrid? I don't know. I would not cheer for the Fire in that scenario. Really, any other scenario at this point.
Detroit City finishes in 4th in the USL Championship. I want to put them back in 3rd, but I think this is just let's aim above. Main objective, host a home playoff game in round 1. Second thing, finish above that projection in the regular season. This is where I differ for League Cup. We're winning the fucking thing.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, I would love to see it. I would love to see us pick some silverware and go get it.
It's been a while.
It has.
I think
we don't want to be let's not get spoiled, right? We don't expect trophy. Yeah. It's not like trophy a year club. But let's just win something. Hold it up in the air, Shoot some fucking fingers.
Pew pew pew. Yeah, that. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Hartford Athletic, Portland Hearts of Pine, Westchester SC are 4 teams in the group stage of the USL League Cup. So Pittsburgh and Westchester are the home matches. Hartford and Portland Hearts of Pine are the aways. I know many people are looking forward to that May 31st match in Maine. All right, so fourth, fifth, fourth playoffs, USL Championship. Sean.
Like how do we do?
Yeah.
I mean, like if I was wild ass guessing before, this is like beyond the like this feels like
I started
predicting
off
how
with
we're
a
going to do in
curveball.
like
Now I'm throwing
2029. Like I think we'll probably be pretty good in 2029. I don't know.
So I'm giving you a 12-6. Okay.
I'm saying, if we finish fifth, I think we get to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. That's what I think.
All right.
And I think we beat one of the really good teams on the way, and then we're beat by one of them, probably Blue City, possibly, Maxie and Rhode Island. In the Eastern Conference Final, which is which turns out to be kind of the final in a year that the West is like not competing as hard as we are, and whoever
Maxi
wins
scores.
Yeah, Maxi scores
penalty in extra time.
If
lifts the
any of
trophy.
this,
We're just like,
any of this happens, if any of this happens because of y'all prophecy.
Yep. It's total. A butterfly flaps his wings. A podcaster flaps his mouth. Yeah.
Something darts at the board, etc. Bullseye.
Yeah, I mean, like we are reasoning from beyond thin data at this point. Like, I just want to make that clear. Like, wow. All right, yeah. How we're gonna I struggle to say how we're gonna do against Miami, much less how we're gonna do in the league or. Like my league prediction is more like this is the vibe I get of how good our roster is. Now, could they outperform that? Absolutely. Teams do all the time.
Right.
Could they underperform that? Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, teams do all the time.
Be 2023.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of clueless, but I like that feeling right now. It's like it's infinite possibility when the season starts every year.
Yeah. Okay. So you got Eastern Conference Final, Adam.
I have them finishing fourth, so they enter their home playoff match. And so to have them win that home playoff match this year, that's the next step that they take, I guess. And I don't know. Funny thing is, they finished fourth. I think either I think either Pittsburgh takes that 5 spot and Rhode Island takes the 3, or Pittsburgh takes the 3 and Rhode Island takes the 5th. So if Rhode Island takes the 5th, then we're probably playing Rhode Island at home
in round one.
I don't know who we're gonna play. I won't get that deep into it. I just say we win our opener, and or we win the opening playoff match at Keyworth. In our final season at Keyworth before we go and play at Wayne State. I'm just kidding.
I mean, we are in an era of not respecting previous deals. So
yeah. So I don't know. I guess maybe we lose that next round on the road.
Okay, so you're going second round exit. Or quarterfinals, I forget what they call it in USL Championship playoff. We win round one.
Are you there? Sorry,
I'm there. I'm there. I'm just thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking. I'm in deep pause right now.
He comes up with a topic and isn't ready for it.
Yeah, he's like, "What was I gonna say?"
Because I'm torn. I'm torn. I have to make a decision on. I have to make a live decision on air about this because I don't want to. I want to be honest, but I don't want to be disrespectful at the same time. Strange concept. I'm with Sean. I'm going conference final. We'll lose in the conference final, but we make it to the conference final.
Okay.
Who we playing? Who scores? Who's in net? I'm just kidding.
We will find
Please.
that out.
Okay, so
we have
I'm looking at the guys that I'm going to go back to Miami because I've been doing more research, and since oh my God, my cat just jumped into the cabinet. It's fine. And they've signed like if it were like 2018, they signed a really kick-ass team. But I think Bill Hamid, Lucas Milano, and Sebastian Blanco might be past their best, just a smidgen. So hey, best of luck to them. But I mean, it's definitely not what we were looking at last year. Like this is kind of an incoherent roster, but it's going to have talent. So.
So are you going to? Are we?
2-0 is good. Like I don't think they're going to score against us. I think our guys are going to go out there and keep the clean sheet. And then the question is, will we score? And I think we will. So
this Saturday, March 8th, the first matchup for the USL Championship regular season. The last matchup of the regular season for Detroit City USL Championship is October 25th also in Florida. At LA and in St. Pete against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Why am I saying October? Because we're already in March, folks. October is good. 7 months are going to come by quick. Be ready. We will. So that's just life coming at you. I think we've done. I'm not going to lie, gentlemen. I think we've done quite a hell of a job in being detailed and preview. And keeping it a mini marathon.
I'm sorry. Hold on a second. I'm gonna, I'm trying to Johnny Dream myself over here.
Sean's got a bunch of notes to. He's still
No. I was making a joke about sucking one's own dick.
And that's how we wind up on the
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Prospective sponsors, this is what we can offer you.
Adam's gonna have to figure out. All right, where do I have to hit the expletive on this?
No, I mark ours all explicit every single time, so we're good.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. Appreciate it.
So next week we will be back in a more regular format. We'll talk about what happened this Saturday for the men's season opener in Miami, and we'll also kind of get back to updating the women. We'll talk about Saturday's women's match along with the one taking place this Saturday in Portage at Kalamazoo before they finish off the MASLW campaign. I mean, this team's too fucking good for MASLW. We already established it.
They crushed Iowa without Addie. Well, without Addie and without Mayo. They were both with under 14s.
Coaching the U14s.
Right. It's amazing.
2 5-0 halves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Heather Crumb's amazing. And some of the who is the number 4, the left-footed midfielder?
Hold, please.
She's new. Like she was bawling against Iowa. Now, granted, it's not the highest level competition, but
it is the Iowa Demon Hawks, though.
Well, I mean, and they were not bad defensively. It took us a while to kind of crack them open. But once we did, I mean, what was her name?
Zoe Greenhalgh, because I remember
Greenhalgh, yeah,
because I remember Jared Mackey, like making sure he got the pronunciation right. Jared Mackey, Dave Dwahey, commentary team of the year for MSLW stream. That's all I'm gonna say. For
so
that
many
moment,
vibes.
that moment that I died laughing on that.
I will. Iowa, and I know we don't want to get into the women this week, or for this show, but Iowa looks so much better during warm-ups than what they ultimately were, because looking at them, you're like, oh wow, this looks like a legitimate team. They're out there, warming up, running these drills and everything. Where it seemed like some of the other teams that were playing, like they're kind of just out there, like kicking the ball around before
Right.
the
It's like a
before
literal
kickoff.
kick around.
Like Indiana when we're playing them, it seemed like they're just kind of kicking the ball, and then when the whistle blew, then like, oh wow, they're a lot better than I thought they would be. Iowa was the complete opposite of that. Like they seem like you're like, wow, this team looks like they could be pretty good. They're running drills. It looks like they have like a coaching staff out there, and not some guy who was scoping the bar trying to find replacements because they didn't have enough players coming over.
Yeah.
Or they weren't, or he wasn't, trying to game plan
Hey,
using empty water bottles. They look like a
Adam,
legit team.
today's the 1 year. Today's the 1 year anniversary of that interview with said person
Awesome,
tried to recruit places.
So
awesome. But once it started, oh my God! I mean, City was all over. Even though
I just feel like I feel like they did have a couple players who, if they were on our team, they would be rotation players and would look fine. But they just they really couldn't put 5 good players on the field at the same time, and we would always find the weak link and kind of torture them.
And it seems like Sean, it seems like we broke them. We broke them. We broke them because they ended up forfeiting the game in Kalamazoo.
Oh shit!
And
Seriously?
now and then there's like all this speculation now as to whether or not they're gonna host.
Are they not going to host? They're like,
Nobody-
listen.
Wait. I haven't read any of this. Is this actual?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Nobody. Like,
Oh God!
they forfeited against Kalamazoo. That's funny. Like all the interesting stuff. But they forfeited against Kalamazoo. I don't know if it's because they took that red or what. I mean, still, you figure that you still have enough players, even if a player takes a red.
Right. Well, and you're heading home that way anyway.
Exactly. Kalamazoo is on the way back to Iowa. You would think. Maybe you have to take a little bit of a detour, but it's not
pretty much going to go. You're going to go around. You're going to go south around the lake, and you're going to kind of veer through the south side of Chicago. And there's a
it's not like you have to head to Toledo or Cleveland or anything like that.
It's getting to Des Moines from Chicago is like a very straightforward.
Right. And they had to forfeit that game, which is what we learned yesterday prior to the owners meeting. And now there's speculation as to whether or not they're actually going to host the playoffs, and nobody knows if the playoffs are actually going to happen now. So,
oh man, so is it like their players are just like, fuck this, we don't want to keep playing?
I don't know, because their coach was heated too. When that red was drawn, which seems like it was a totally legitimate red. One of their assistants got a yellow, and I thought he was ripe for a red himself, the way he kept on, arguing.
Maybe potential should have been.
Yeah, and then
I just, I don't know what narrative they're constructing for themselves. Do they like are they in that moment? Are they really thinking that there's some conspiracy to defraud the Iowa Demon Hawks? What the fuck, dude? No, okay. These 2 refs are here making like what, $70 or something. And that's why they're there. They're not here. They're not here because they're like they didn't take off their city kit and come in there. I mean, they're probably like maybe they've been in this environment before, but most likely this is their exposure to Detroit City, just like it's yours. And acting like they're handing out a red card for a stupid foul. Like, no, it was for a dangerous foul. It was
Yeah.
for, like, and it was one of those where you're kind of gasping when it happened, like, oh God. And, when they got the red card out, I was like, okay, yeah, that's exactly. And the way he went to the mattresses about it, I'm just like, did you not see that? Like, were you not looking at the play when it happened? And so you're just imagining that, like, you asked your player and she's like, I don't know, I didn't do anything. And you're like, okay, she said she didn't do anything. Well, we all watched her do something, man. Like, why are you freaking out about this? Like,
it seemed like he was generally surprised. Like, he's never seen a red card before when he's been coaching.
Yeah.
And the first one he saw was like, wow, that's what a red card is? Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, I'm imagining they are fairly rare in the indoor game, just because you don't get careening around at full speed the way you can in outdoors, because you don't have that kind of space. It's all you're kind of accelerating, decelerating all the time. So you're very seldom like kind of blasting around out of control and smashing into people the way you do in the outdoor game.
So the fact is that these are new, shocking developments to me, which means we'll have.
I thought you guys knew about that already.
No, I didn't know it. I'm like, well, I saw someone saying, like, now we're hearing that there might not be hosting, and I was just like, what? Okay, I'll look at that later. Like, because I didn't have that much time between getting home and us doing this, so I haven't looked at the Discord or anything.
I would think we should have some more updates next week, hopefully, for the sake of our sanities and wondering what's going to happen at the end of the month. For MSLW, we'll talk about that in detail next week with everything. It's been a hell of a fun preview. Sean Spence, the keeper of the pizza mines, the architect of the words about shapes, the
Heat Daddy,
the guy. The father of heat. Man, it's been a while since we brought that one back at him. Damn. I didn't know it was not me this time. And yeah, badass motherfucker. Where can folks find you?
Yeah, I'm Shield Chafing, which is SEYLD at Gmail, on Twitter and Blue Sky and other places. And but if it's not me,
cat photos.
Yeah, cat photos are always welcome. No other photos are welcome.
All right, Adam, what about you? We got to commend Adam, actually, although we still haven't seen any photos. Apparently, Adam was rocking the closest to a Sunday best that anyone has ever seen him on there yesterday, so commending on there. It's given us an idea for match day stuff. Where can folks find you?
You can find me at TMSNX Adam on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. I have some cat pics on my Instagram, so if you want to send me some cat pics as well, then you're perfectly welcome to. And also, I do have the new NGS scarf around my neck right now too. So
breaking news,
which hasn't been released yet. So.
We just have a habit of just dropping like exclusive stuff here today, folks.
Listen to the end.
You can find me Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and Blue Sky at GM Comments. My cat content will often be in the form of IG stories and funny cat videos that I find on there.
Perfectly acceptable.
So that's gonna be that stuff on there. So it's been fun. We're already a quarter of the way, 3 months into the year now. Shit's getting real. Detroit City's men's season's going to be real, starting off at the Miami. Disrespect the Miami. Saturday, March 8th, 7 p.m. ESPN Plus, TB50 in Southeast Michigan, CBSDetroit.com, or anywhere if you're in the state of the Michigan. And yeah, we'll go from there. Next week, we'll talk about that matchup as well as more MSLW League stuff. For Sean Spence, for Adam Hernandez, I'm Garret Komatz. Thank you for checking out another episode of Make City Make Spence, Detroit.themajorsports.com for all of your Majors Detroit content. And until next time, see ya.
Bye.
Yeah.